Everybody, I'm Heather Lockett, and we're having lasting conversations. And today is a huge celebration. I'm 60, and this is my 60th episode. So cheers to 60. We are really rolling now. Everybody, I really appreciate all of you. So I'm going to start with some gratitude and a toast. So as our latest guest, Wally Waiters, was here, and speaking of gratitude as a foundation for us, I am in such great gratitude for all of you who have stuck with me this year and all of you who are hopping on and joining now for the Lasting Conversation show. This has been quite an adventure for a little more than a year now, and the adventures of my life and adventures of everybody who's been a guest on our show, and the absolute synchronicity and kismet of so many of the people along the way and what their topics are and who people know, and they go, oh my gosh, I've known you and I've known them from a long time ago. So I'm going to start with a toast. I'll probably even end with a toast. So here we are, a little pink drink for you, for me, for everybody in the world and in your family. Now, what this is actually an adult beverage 60 style, meaning it's my electrolyte water with a little splash of other electrolyte water that has some cranberry and juices in it. Because right now, this body could use some help. And that's okay. This is what's happening. I'm not so much drinking alcohol anymore. And that's been a really beautiful and healthful thing. And health and vibration and topics like that have been a huge part of our episodes and our shows. And we started off in the middle of the summer with Kathleen Hayden and John Anthony and their good vibrations. And they are working also with some of our other guests, including Sandra from Azul, who was on earlier in the year, and the Sea Turtle Adventures folks, people with Alzheimer's and other neurodefective disorders. All of it ties together as we are swimming together in this pool of amazing enlightenment and fun and music and dance and health. So what I was going to talk about is a bit of my journey. So as most of you know, as I've mentioned before, that I didn't know I was going to do a podcast, but here it was. And so my first 30 episodes and more, 32 really, were in my previous studio. And then I sold my home and I got on the road. And on the road shows led to what I will call, thank you, Brene Brown, the gifts of imperfection. So now that we're actually on YouTube, all these episodes have been filmed in studios and on my camera and on Zooms and in every which way. It's been kind of funny to see some interesting outtakes and bloopers, and where they haven't exactly been perfect, because where I was on the side of a road or just using my handheld camera, now you can really see it on video. And so you'll have to excuse the imperfection. And some of the episodes were not perfect because I had to actually start coughing because I was having some asthma. As you know, last summer, there were some fires, there was all kinds of stuff in the air, and that really affected me. One of the other shows we actually had with Valerie, I was filming here back in this new studio, and something got my throat. I think there was a little extra doggy hair or a train went by or something. And to the grace of editing and the team, and with Valerie, who just carried on, thank goodness I was on mute because I was just coughing and coughing and coughing. So these things just happen. And again, being 60, having 6 decades of life shows us a lot. And it shows me where there's always opportunity for growth, and where I continuously am not perfect. We are perfections. We're perfection in our making, in our very being. But there's always this kind of funny wink from the universe, whether there's a hair sticking out or a jiggly camera or whatever it is, or there's a doggy looking at me right now in this new studio. There's always a little something. So what I wanted to do today is really touch base with a lot of the favorite moments and milestones. And I have been blessed to know so many beautiful people. And like I said, the stories intertwined. So the topics that we have covered from education to health to special needs to being gay parents and stepping out of our lives into our new lives, and from sciences and genetics and what we are capable of. It's all run the gamut, which is extraordinary, and yet it all interestingly ties together. And so let me just share a few of my favorite moments. We've done dating with Christy Price, and her episode was number 32, and that talking about getting into a dating field and who's looking, it all goes back to self and self-discovery and who's even ready for a relationship. And so talking about health, we had Michelle Burke who talked what nourishes. And that was also interesting for me because I was on my road trip. And on the one hand, what was nourishing me in these locations and seeing friends and family was amazing in the Atlantic Ocean from the north. But to be honest, I wasn't exactly eating my best. And many of the places didn't have anything for me to eat that was that particularly nourishing. And so I had some life lessons there, some of which might be kicking my butt at the moment. So, but all of these topics, again, they just keep going. Some of the other favorites had to be with my friend Ray, my good friend Ray, on his sofa. So these serendipitous moments that we just sort of say, let's just do it. And our episode, which was, I'm trying to even remember, number 37, good friends, old friends, great teachers. It was one of my favorite moments because where the topics ran very deep and it got into education, it got into family, it got into some roots, but we were giggling because we've known each other since I was 14 and he was 16 years old. So that was an on-the-fly sofa moment that I will cherish forever. We also had Mo the Owl. Amy from Bush Wildlife Center brought Mo the Owl into the studio. And Mo, now that we're on YouTube, you can watch this episode. It was number 12, talking about animals. And Mo just sat there the whole time, and Mo was one-eyed. And there was such a presence to this amazing being. And everybody else in that studio was wondering, are we going to have a real animal in here? And what kind is it? Is it going to fly around and wreck the equipment? But of course not. It was just so fun and so beautiful. So that's a good one to re-listen to and also check out on YouTube. I'm going to talk about my teammates now. And this will get into some other of the transitional things, but and favorite shows. So more of my favorite shows were number 4 with my girl Janine. And then Janine came back or I came to her house, as a matter of fact, for, I think it was episode 54, marking my full year. So Janine and I have this kismet, and Janine helped me birth this show a year ago in our previous studio. And then life happens and morphed for both of us. And then I came into her new house that is part of the Pixelworks studio. And her new company, Stella Mix, is helping me continue this show and then rebirth and branch out even further. And so our 2 episodes are so much fun because we just banter back and forth to each other. And go figure, we went everything from MMA topics to meditation. MMA to meditation, there's a topic right there. Yeah. So the other thing that always is striking to me is when people, I've hit the top 10% globally in podcasts, which is a really big deal. That's a great accolade and a milestone. I have had, more importantly, I have had people come up to me and share their moment from where they have been listening or watching the show. And one of our latest guests, Lisa Prossinger, had, when we met only a few weeks ago, ended up saying, I dove in. And I couldn't stop listening to the shows. And it was your first one and the first couple of ones when you were talking about your tea time and your moments with your grandparents. And she's saying it brought me back to my moments with my family and around a table. So that, again, whether I have millions of listeners or a few listeners, if I reach one that has touched their heart, that really, really touches my heart. And it means everything to me. someone else has said, oh, by the way, but Debbie Hudzik, who is your travel person, who I spoke with when I was on the road, not only was she so helpful for me as I was navigating my serendipitous and very organic and impromptu trip, but this other friend of mine said, oh, by the way, I'm actually using Debbie because we're planning a really great adventure. And again, these are the things that I'm such team human and team community. So the more that each one reaches one in our own way, in their own way, again, tickles my heart, tickles my hat, as they say in Boston. We've had, Ann Vlahos. Ann Vlahos has her mugs, and that her show was called Calm. And we had two back-to-back where the theme was about calm. This was in the summer where there were fires and there were earthquakes and there was the beginning rumblings and floods. Vermont had just been flooded out. And so in the beginning rumblings, the different wars and things hadn't fully started, or I think Ukraine had started. But so finding the peace within these storms. And this is Anne's amazing wheelhouse. And we were, again, talking about grief in her book, and then her mugs that have the flower of life on it. And you can be very tactile and meditative with it. Now, again, with the gifts of imperfection, ironically, my side of that camera is very jiggly and hers is very calm. So once you go on YouTube, you're going to see some of these things, which they're just not perfect, but it tells a lot because we are human going through all these things, including what's going on inside of us, what's going on in the world around us. And our guests here on this show find a way to tap into what are the resources and how that there are helpers out in the world. And this goes into the whole list of folks. I'm going to put my glasses on because I do have 60-year-old eyes. Corey Heyman, Jana Lamore, Ned, Cassandra, Kim, Michelle Burke, all of them, Lisa Bolton, Valerie Staggs. So many of them are traveling the world, or they bring their world perspective into how we collectively can be together. Lisa, who literally is traveling the world, I happen to be able to tap in with her on her episode while she was in between 2 and 3 and 4 month trips. And so that helps give us greater perspectives. My show with Sebas earlier in the year, he's a worldly guy too. And that brought some different political views and things like that that help us along the way as well. And music. I'm going to just talk about the music for a second. We've had some of our friends literally sing to us on our shows. Will sang a beautiful song that he says it's going to make you cry, and he was not wrong. And Betty Rojas, Betty from Paris, France, sang her little song that was just delightful, and you had to lean in to listen. And this was just from a thoughtful spot. And then we had Thea. Thea was in the studio and talking about her work with music therapy and guiding people to step out of their selves in whatever might be their troubles of kids at school or even the elders, people with Alzheimer's, and that music can carry such a resonance that it can bring people out and through whatever is perhaps in the way. And Thea's new song, one of her many new songs, Shortest Distance, we got to hear that on the show too. And Thea is on Spotify, and I just love her. And I love all of our musicians who have brought their song. That kind of goes back to Kathleen Hayden and John Anthony with their good vibrations, that we do sound baths and sound healing and vibrational tones. And here locally in West Palm Beach, there was a concert at the planetarium that Janine had mentioned. And it just helps. Music has its way of settling what's in our bones, and it can kick up a high celebration, a high vibe, makes you dance, makes you cry. As we know, music is the harmony of everything. I'm also going to mention Jill Carlin Butler, who was on 2 shows. She's probably itching for some more. But Jill and some other artists that we've had on, including Sandra from Azul Fashion, using art and color and fabric and textiles and texture and inspiration, and how that brings joy to the world and how that brings joy from within you and through you. Her show and Sandra's show talking about color and life and livelihood. And Kim Marone, she's a coach, but she also has art as well and brings that forward. And so all of these guests, again, everything kind of intertwines and interswirls, which is going to lead me back to another beautiful moment with my friend Jo Brockman Porter and her son AJ, and her story of being a mom and a success enabler. Now that circles back with art and music, because her beloved Brewhouse Gallery has been a place where people can brew their ideas and play some music and enjoy some art. And her episode talking about the success enabler talked about her son, who has been a quadriplegic most of his life, and yet his gift to the world has been his art and compassion. And as we were talking, he had just been a new dad, and that's a beautiful thing. What I was thinking of in this moment, a little brain pause, was while Jo and I were actually speaking. No, scratch that, reverse that, just like Willy Wonka. The doula that we had on our show, when we were speaking, AJ was birthing his baby. That was that kismet. And that's where my brain was just thinking, oh, the serendipity. There's serendipity of us all. And that we might be around the world together, but really we're just a half nanosecond away from each other. So I would love you to listen. Listen again to some of these shows. Listen, if as a new person, find one that resonates, or start from the beginning, or start and work your way down. What is going to happen, and my continued goal, is to be a bridge, be a little communication highway and byway, if you will, to make sure that we know that we're not together. It's a quiet space for people to land. And I know there's a lot of choices out there, a lot of people that offer a lot of advice and a lot of this and that. And that's good. We might have advice that comes organically. Take it or leave it. We have all kinds of different perspectives. People have different political views. They'll have different healthcare views. And that's great too. Again, this is the soft place to land, where we may be preaching a little, we're preaching the love, but we're not going to tell you exactly what you should be doing and hammer you over the head with it. And that's why this is kind of a soft place. It's kind of a meditative space. Some of the other shows that I did were moments for me that were kind of these little poignant moments. And there was really, I could say nothing left to say, but really they were story time. I created them into story time. I think we're going to do some more of that, where I brought in some books, some children's books. I shared, I know I will be sharing Deborah Reed's newest book, If Only, that I have my own hard copy. And Debbie was sharing her books. We've had some authors sharing their beautiful work. But in these poignant moments that I was having, and just sharing some poems and sharing some love and sharing some stories, this is what we're about. And I would love to hear your story. And I'd love it in a form of a poll. What has been your favorite story? What has been your favorite episode? I'd love to hear from you. If you have something that you'd like to say and share, I'd love to give you the microphone and give you that opportunity to voice what's in your heart as well. So definitely reach out for that. One of the other things that's happening is we're going to continue to not only be in this beautiful studio, but I'll also be on the road still. And I'll work out the technology, or I won't. That's what's so cool, is that we're in an evolutionary time. We're in a time of change, and everything could just keep shifting. And whatever organically arises for me, I can say that I have a grand plan, which I think God only literally knows my grand plan. I just keep stepping in and saying yes to that plan. And whatever happens along the way, I hope you join me. And I honor you, and I am so grateful for you and our continued friends who will join us on our path. Like I'm now seeing the good old Wizard of Oz, and we'll just skip down the yellow brick road together in all of our ways and all of our flavors and all of our feelings. So here's to you. Here's to us. Here's to being 60. Here's to 60 more and 60 more and 60 more. Much love, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is Lasting Conversations. We get to the heart of everything. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube. And you can send emails to podcast@lastingconversations.com.